It is true thrift to use the best ingredients available. Use them carefully and wisely, and you will have less waste than if you search for bargains and end up with a full garbage pail.
I had the great fortune of growing up with a grandmother who had a self-sufficient farm on eastern Long Island. And I really wanted the ingredients that I remembered from my childhood. I remembered the fruits and vegetables, the going out and picking them nice and fresh and using them fresh. And that's what I wanted for the restaurant. You know, I wanted to get back to where cooks knew that cauliflower didn't grow with a plastic bag over it, that things came from farms. We have to start having a one-on-one relationship with our farmers, and that was back in the mid-70s. I decided I'd open my own restaurant in 1983. And I couldn't think of a name for the restaurant at all. So I called Jim up. I said, Jim, what do you think a good name for the restaurant? And I barely got it out of my mouth, and he said, An American Place.
I mean, long before farm to table, before farmers markets, I mean, I will never forget going to An American Place and seeing Larry Forgione with cream in a jar, and he was shaking it. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm whipping the cream. Mr. Beard says that you can get cream like this, and he went out and found it.
Jim loved strawberries, and especially strawberry shortcake. That was one of his favorites. I have a recipe that he gave me that was handed down from his mother. We had it on the menu at An American Place for as long as I can remember.
You know, I remember like asking my father, you know, what is it about James Beard, you know, that you love so much? And, you know, he kind of smiled and said you'd be able to go over his house and talk about morels for 2 hours. And then after you were done talking about morels, you'd talk about goat cheese for another 3 hours. And some woman who made the best goat cheese that he's ever had. And he'd talk about what the woman looked like and the color of her hair and, you know, her favorite dress that she liked to wear. And he would associate all these things with just this one spoonful of goat cheese.
You know, Jim never really changed over all the years. He still believed in the philosophy of American food and the great bounty that America had to offer. And it just took us a while to catch up to him.
He was the pioneer in the beginnings of any kind of farm-to-table movement. Many of the chefs that he did mentor over the years are chefs that you now see in that very movement.
A lot of people were dropping out in the 60s and trying to live their own way, whether it was on a farm or whether it was eating healthy food. And I think it wasn't really until we sort of came to our senses about the purity of food, and it was juxtaposed against fast food. It became very revolutionary.
It's very common today to go to restaurants where you feel like you're having dinner at a friend's house with very fresh food from the farmer's market. That was not common at all in 1970. People who were architects and musicians, not even chefs before, found their way into this little Alice Waters hippie commune at Chez Panisse. They came to work with her and be a part of this revolution.
I was a failed architect. I was broke, and I took the first job that came along, which was the chef at Chez Panisse. If I'd known what it was like to be a chef, I would never have done it, quite frankly. James Beard wrote an article in 1975 saying that one of his favorite restaurants in the United States was Chez Panisse. And everybody who read his columns went, James Beard has a favorite restaurant in Berkeley? How is that possible?
After Chez Panisse opened, Marion Cunningham said, I'm bringing James Beard. I remember we made a special dinner, and I know he was sitting over here. And he was a very open, expressive, charming person. After he left, he said to Marion Cunningham, this is not a real restaurant. And I knew what he meant. I did know what he meant, and I considered it a great compliment.